Good morning, dear friends. We are again back with a new chapter, the neural control and coordination. Basically, we are going to study about the nervous system in this chapter. So, in this lecture number 1, we will start from the introductory part of this chapter. We are basically going to study about the nervous system, the cells which are going to make the whole nervous system. There are basically two types of cells present in the nervous system. One, the excitable cells, and another one is the non-excitable cells. Yes, two types of cells are making the nervous system. One, the excitable cell. First, the excitable cell, which is called neurons. And second, the non-excitable cell. The non-excitable cell, which is called neuroglial cells. Neuroglial cells. These neuroglial cells are non-excitable and neurons are excitable. Now the question arises in the mind that what is the difference between the excitable cell and the non-excitable cell? So the main difference between the excitable cell and the non-excitable cell is the excitable cells are capable of generating, conducting as well as transmitting the impulse, whereas on the other hand the non-excitable cells are not capable of conducting nor transmitting, not even producing the impulse. This was the main difference between the excitable cell and the non-excitable cell at the other hand. Is it clear to everybody? So I am writing here, excitable cell can conduct, even generate, and also transmit what? The impulse. But in the case of non-excitable cells, these cannot even generate, and if they will not generate, it's not profitable to talk about the conduction and transmission of impulse. So they cannot. But unfortunately, the number of majority in the nervous system is of non-excitable cells. These are more than 50% in the nervous system. More than 50% in the nervous system. And these excitable cell neurons are less than 50% in the whole nervous system. Okay, this is the very important point from the NEET point of view. These are more than 50% in the nervous system, the contribution of nervous system. These are the majority and these are minority. Okay. Now, one by one we are going to study. There are 5 kinds of non-excitable cells. First, the ependymal cell. Second one, the microglial cell. Third, the astrocytes. Fourth, the Schwann cells. And last, the oligodendrocytes. One by one we will go in the detail of each of these non-excitable cells. What are the structure, what are the role in the nervous system. Now, when we will talk one by one about these non-excitable cells, neuroglial cell, first we will start from the non-excitable cell. There are basically 5 types of non-excitable cells present in the nervous system, which are majority. They are more than 50%. One by one we are going to study. After this we will go on the excitable cell, the famous one, the neurons. So start with the first non-excitable cell, ependymal cells. Basically we will go on the structure of ependymal cell. It is a type of columnar cells. This is a type of columnar cell having the brush border appearance at the upper part, and these basal part contains cilia, and there is a oval shaped nucleus at the basal part of these cells. This is the nucleus. I am writing here N. Oval shaped nucleus. These are cilia at the basal part, and upper part is brush border appearance or brush border epithelium cells. We can also write brush border epithelium. These brush border epithelium will help in increasing the surface area. For what? Yes, to surface area, to increasing the surface area to reabsorb the CSF. In further, I am going to tell you about the CSF, the production of CSF by these ependymal cells to increase the surface area for better reabsorption. Now, these ependymal cells produces cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, which is called cerebrospinal fluid. Now, by the name, I am very much clear that these fluid will present in the both cerebro means brain, I am talking about brain, and spinal means the spinal cord. It means this name is shouting that I am present at both places, the brain as well as spinal cord. So these CSF are get produced by the ependymal cells, which are the non-excitable cells, and not even the production is responsible of ependymal cell. Even the reabsorption will also take place by the same cell, ependymal cell. Okay, so there is basically two functions. First, to produce CSF, and second, to reabsorb the CSF. Because CSF is going to produce on daily basis. So the old CSF will be reabsorbed by the same cells. Okay, and these reabsorption will be facilitated by this rust border epithelium present on the upper part of these cells, which will help to increase the surface area for the better reabsorption. Okay, this was the ependymal cell, the structure and the function. Is it clear to everybody? Now, after the ependymal cell, we are going to talk about the microglial cell, which are second non-excitable cell. When we talk about these microglial cells, when we are going to talk about the microglial cell, these are basically the monocytes or the macrophage cells. Basically, these are the monocyte or macrophage. These cells will engulf the foreign particles. And what about the foreign particles? The bacteria, it can even be the bacteria, or can be virus, or any other microorganism which is going to harm the body. These cells will engulf, let's assume that there is a virus, this is a virus. This cell will engulf by the process of phagocytosis, because these cells are phagocytic in nature and eat these foreign particles, kill this foreign particle. Okay, this was the basic and one and only function of microglial cell. These microglial cells are phagocytic in nature. Phagocytic in nature. So it will kill that foreign particle by engulfing it. Okay. Now this was a very short function of microglial cell. After this microglial cell, the astrocyte cells. Now when we talk about these astrocytes, basically this name, when we divide this name into two parts, the astro and the cytes. Astro means star shaped, and cytes, you are very much familiar with this name. Cyte means cell. So this will be the star shaped cell. I am drawing here a star shaped, trying to draw a star shaped cell here. These star shaped cell, which is called astrocytes, functions as a blood-brain barrier. Now this is a very new term for you, that what is the meaning of this blood-brain barrier. It means it will act as a barrier between brain and blood. This cell, this star-shaped cell, astrocyte, will act as a barrier between blood and brain. That's why that is very much impossible or very less probability of getting infection in the brain. This is only because of this astrocyte star-shaped cells. Okay, because the blood is not very much connectively attached with brain, that it can go very easily. There is astrocytes between the blood vessels, the blood and the brain. Okay, now see how they are performing as a barrier. This is the astrocyte cell. This side, this is the portion of brain. This is the portion of brain. This is the astrocyte cell, and here this is the blood vessel in which blood is very much going fast through. Here the blood, here is the blood. This is the part of brain. In between this brain and blood, there is a barrier, the astrocyte. Now, if anything want to go to the brain, it have to go first to the astrocyte, and if astrocyte will give the permission, then only that substance will be passed on the brain. Otherwise, it will not. That's why these astrocytes are called the barrier between blood and brain. That's why there is very much less probability of getting infection in the brain, either in compared to other parts. Okay. If anything want to go to brain, it cannot go directly to the brain. It has to go first to the astrocytes. If astrocyte will identify it safe for the brain, it will move toward. Otherwise, it cannot go to the brain. Okay, so brain is a very delicate organ, a very important organ of human being. That why it is very much genuine to have such facilities. Okay, so this was the function of star-shaped astrocyte. Acts as a blood-brain barrier. Is it clear? Now, after astrocytes, we are going to study about Schwann cells. Now, after astrocytes, we are going to talk about the Schwann cells and oligodendrocyte cells. Basically, I am going to talk it in a collective manner because very much functions of Schwann cells and oligodendrocyte cells are very much similar. Now, see how. Both the function of Schwann cell and oligodendrocyte cell is to form the formation of myelin sheath. Myelin sheath. Both the function of Schwann cell and oligodendrocyte cell is to making the myelin sheath. But these Schwann cell will make the myelin sheath in case of peripheral nervous system, and the oligodendrocyte cell will make this myelin sheath in the case of central nervous system. Yes, the brain and the spinal cord. In further lecture, we will study how these Schwann cells are responsible for the formation of myelin sheath in the case of peripheral nervous system or central nervous system. So basically, the main function of Schwann cell and oligodendrocyte cell is to formation of myelin sheath. But individually, this Schwann cell will make this myelin sheath in peripheral nervous system, and oligodendrocyte will be responsible for the formation of myelin sheath in the case of central nervous system. Now, after we have gone through all the non-excitable cells, we are going to talk about the second part, the very much important part, the excitable cells, which is neurons. So, when we talk about neurons, neurons are basically the nerve cells. We can also say the nerve cells or neuron. It is the smallest unit or the functional unit of nervous system. Basically, it is a unit of nervous system. As similar as cells, cells are the structure and functional and smallest unit of a living body. Similarly, neurons are the unit of nervous system. It means neuron will function for the functioning of nervous system. When we talk about neuron, basically these neurons structure is basically very much easy. Don't get hurdle about this. The structure of neuron is basically divided into three parts. So when we go through the structure of neuron, the structure is divided into three parts. First, the dendron part. Middle one, the cyton part. Cyton part is also known as the cell body, or we can also say this cyton, the perikaryon. Perikaryon. The perikaryon, cell body and cytons are the synonyms. Okay. The third part is the axon. The third part is the axon. These are the three parts in which the structure of axon is divided. Now, on the help of a typical structure of neuron, I am going to show you these all structures. Now, when we go through the structure of neuron, the typical structure of neuron, we know that the structure of neuron is divided into three basic parts. This one, the highly branched structure is called the dendrites. This cellular space, the structure is called cyton, and this structure is called axon. It means This is axon part. This is the axon part. This is the cyton part, which is also known as cell body, or we can also say perikaryones. Why we say perikaryones, the other name of cell body? Because perikaryon means the space near to the nucleus. Karyon means nucleus. The space near to the nucleus is called perikaryon. So this is nucleus and the space around this is called perikaryon. That's why we can also say that cyton is also known as cell body or perikaryon. Next, these highly branched structure are the dendrons or the dendrites. The dendrites, axon, and this is cyton. This is three parts. Other than this, there are many structures. I am going one by one. These are the myelin sheath on the axon part. These are the myelin sheath. The discontinuous appearance is called myelin sheath. This is called myelin sheath. Better remember one thing, myelin sheath is also known as medullated sheath. Okay, in further lecture we will go in a deep study about this myelin sheath, the formation of myelin sheath. Okay, these myelin sheath are the discontinuous. On these myelin sheath there are the Schwann cells which are going to make this myelin sheath, and these are continuous structure. These are the Schwann cells which are continuous on the myelin sheath, which are going to responsible for the formation of these myelin cells. So these are the Schwann cells which will further make this myelin sheath. So these cytoplasmic area inside the axon part, this is called exoplasm. This is called exoplasm. Basically exoplasm is the cytoplasmic part of axonal part. Okay, this is the cytoplasm of cyton part. Okay, this is the nucleus of this neuron, the nerve cell. These are the dendrites. Now there are some granular structure present in the cytoplasm of both cyton and the dendron part, which are called, I am drawing here a square structure, the Nissl granules. These are the Nissl's granules. These are not anything a rocket science, basically the endoplasmic reticulum and ribosome. That's why these Nissl granule will do the synthesis of protein in the nerve cells. They will be responsible for the protein synthesis, because basically these Nissl granules are the endoplasmic reticulum with the ribosomes, and we know that there is a ribosome, definitely there will be the formation of protein, because the basic function of ribosome is to synthesize the protein. Okay. Now these are the Nissl granules, not only present in the cytoplasm of cyton, even found in the cytoplasmic part inside the dendrites. Here I am also drawing the Nissl granule. It means there will be a cytoplasmic part of cyton, there will also be presence of Nissl granules, and in also the part of dendrite. But these Nissl granules are absent in the axon part. In this axonal part there will be no Nissl granule, so there will be no protein synthesis in the axonal part. Now after this, there are many fiber-like structures present in the cytoplasm. These fiber-like structures are called neurofibrils. These fiber-like structures are called neurofibrils. Okay. After this, the layer of axon, the outer layer of axon, this one, I am talking about this layer. This layer is called exolemma. Exolemma, because the lemma word means the layer, and the part of axon, so that is called exolemma. And the cytoplasmic part of this axon is called exoplasm. Okay. These outermost layer of myelin sheath is called neurilemma. Neurilemma. It is the outermost part of the myelin sheath. Okay. After this, we have gone through these parts. Now come below this means the axonal ending part. This is the end part of this axon. So this part is called axonal ending. Axonal ending. This part is called axonal ending because it is the endmost part of axon. These axonal endings also goes and opens in many terminals. So these are called axon terminals. Axon terminals. These are the axon terminals. The swallowed part at the last of these terminals is called synaptic knob. KNOB knob. These are the synaptic knob, the swallowed part. And inside the synaptic knob there are synaptic vesicles. This is the synaptic vesicles inside the synaptic knob. So these are called synaptic vesicles. And inside these synaptic vesicles there is a chemical impulse, a impulse in form of chemical called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters. And these neurotransmitters are nothing but generally the chemical impulse, which will further go in the synapses. Further lecture we will going to study about the synapses, how the synapses, basically synapses is the transmission of impulse from one neuron to another. So I hope this structure of a typical neuron is very much clear. Basically three parts: the cyton, the cellular part, the dendrons, the highly coiled structure, and these the axonal part. I hope this structure, basic structure of neuron is very much clear to all of you. After going through the structure of neuron, we are going to talk about the types of neuron. That how many types of neurons are there. When we talk about after the structure, we are going to do types of neurons. So the neurons are very much divided on the different parameters. So there are types of neuron on the basis of functions, the number of functions present in it, the type of neuron on the basis of myelin sheath is present or not, the type of neuron on the basis of function. Okay, what is the function? So first we will start on the basis of function. On the basis of function, neurons are basically of three types. First, the sensory neuron, second, the motor neuron, and third, the relay neurons. On the basis of function, these are of three types. Now, what is the function of sensory, the relay and the motor? Now, we know that there are receptors in the body which receives the stimulus. These receptors receive the stimulus. I hope, my dear students, you are very much clear by the concept of stimulus. What is stimulus? Stimulus is nothing but a sudden change. Okay, the type of change in a body. So receptor will receive the stimulus and give to the central nervous system. After this central nervous system will forward the answer that what really have to do by the effector. So there will be an effector which will respond for that stimulus. So the neuron which is carrying the impulse, the message from the receptor to the central nervous system, these neurons are called sensory neurons, or also known as receptor neurons. Receptor neurons. Now, by the help of these sensory neurons, receptor neurons, the message has came from the receptor to the central nervous system, means brain and spinal cord. After getting the information, it will forward the answer that what you have really to do. So the neuron which is taking the answer, the response from the central nervous to the effector, these are called motor neurons, or also known as effector neurons. Effector neurons. Okay, and the neuron which is joining both these sensory neuron and motor neuron in the central nervous system, that neuron is called the relay neurons. So the relay neurons are basically adjoining these two neurons in the central nervous system. So So what was the function of sensory neuron? Is to receive or take the message, the stimulus toward the central nervous system from the receptor, and the function of motor neuron or the effector neuron is to take the answer, in form of impulse, toward the effector from the central nervous system. And third, the relay neurons will adjoin these both neurons inside the central nervous system. These were the type of neurons on the basis of function. After these all study of excitable cell, the non-excitable cells, the specific study of all the ependymal, the microglia, the astrocyte, all these, the structure of neurons, the type of neuron on the basis of function, we have studied in this lecture. In the second lecture, number 2, we will going to study the type of neuron on the basis of number of functions, on the basis of presence of myelin sheath and non-myelin sheath. Okay, thanks.